to galacticconnection.com, one of the most popular blogs on the World Wide Web today for alternative news. Stay tuned for the latest information on our world shift from enslavement to galactic involvement, as well as current intel on any blockages impeding us from our sovereign birthright. Knowledge and self-mastery are key at this time. Our commitment is to present you with the latest breaking conspiratorial articles, off-world messages, exopolitics, cutting-edge technologies and sciences, and also an ever-significant intertwining of spiritual support and metaphysical scope that one needs to dive down the rabbit hole in search for truth with balance. We are truly on the horizon of a new golden age filled with the promise for more love, worldwide peace, and accelerated intuitive skills, where every living being can exist in cohesion and abundance. It is whatever we envision and dream this new world to be. I say to you now, let's redefine the new world to the beginnings of our own precious heaven on earth. Galactic Connection is here to provide the pulse of Mother Earth through an eclectic range of interviews each Tuesday afternoon from 3 to 4:55 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Station 2 on BBS Radio, expanding your perspectives on how we can once and for all take back our freedoms, our joy, and our connection with our mighty I Am presence. Our intention remains true to connect hearts and minds everywhere in order to obtain global unity and galactic and universal acceptance. Our discussions will continue to cover anything to do with galactic society and our involvement with our galactic brothers and sisters. Our guests are experts in their fields, and our radio shows have been coined as some of the most thought-provoking out there. In addition to our daily blog, which runs 365 days a year, we also offer a realm of healing services such as our world-renowned implant removal processes, our spiritual past life clearings, our galactic violet ray alchemy from Alexandra, who shares in the lineage of Merlin, and other cutting-edge healing technologies. Check our site out at galacticconnection.com now, sending you a wave of light, love, and inspiration, and a personal hug and thank you for listening to our Galactic Connection radio show and visiting our blog today. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is December 24th, and it's Christmas Eve! Yay! This is Alexandra Meadors of galacticconnection.com. And I have with me my husband, Stephen Meadors.
Hello, everyone.
And we have kind of an interesting discussion to go over with everyone. It is a follow-up on the implants. And you might be saying, oh God, more information on implants. But let me tell you, things just keep unfolding. And information and messages keep coming in. From all angles, I might say. I'm getting phone calls and emails and information from Pam and Steve and myself, and things are really starting to become clear as to what the entire background is to this whole process. So, with that said, I kind of want to begin with some of the questions that have come in about the implants. A lot of you have been asking, exactly what are they? And that's kind of a big question mark for all of us.
Yes.
But I think we all agree, and Pam has agreed with this, that it seems to be some sort of scalar wave-like technology. I mean, it's not of this world, and so therefore it's not been something really easy to chase down. I also know that, it's not of the physical body. And there were many, many, many practitioners and phenomenally highly skilled healers that worked on me after the accident in 2001. And I know they were never able to see these particular types of implants like Pam has been given the gift to do. So one of the things we also wanted to go over with you is on why the implants are placed in particular areas of the body. And I kind of went over this with Pam the other day, but I had some insights as well. And here's what we've come up with. Now, there are some core areas where everyone shares the same location. Okay, for example, everyone, and I mean everyone. It's almost like no matter how well, you're dialed in psychically.
Right.
You still have an implant over your third eye. And so basically this is to prevent you from having the full gift of sight. And think about it. It's very difficult for us to really realize this, but if we had our full gifts in place, we would have a much better life. We would make a lot better decisions because we would have our intuition fully locked in. And then we would be able to help other people all the time. It would just be kind of a natural, ongoing experience to be able to psychically assist people. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Is this the same thing as the red disc that she was talking about?
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit?
No, I don't really know much else about it. I mean, it's and seriously, I haven't gotten a whole lot of details from her either. I mean, she's still not clear on it as I am as to where this is really coming from. She just knows it's there, and she's seen it in everybody that's come across her desk, so to speak. So then you have the heart. Okay, the heart's a biggie. Not everybody has the heart, but a lot of people do. And why would they put it there? Well, this basically keeps you from realizing that we are all one, that we are all connected, that we are all interlinked, that we all feel basically the same and we need the same things. So that's a huge one, really huge one.
Right, and that brings up the heart wall, which a lot of people, once their heart is open, then they realize, or they feel like there's still like a blockage there. And so this is something that needs to happen after the implant, and we can discuss that a little bit later if you want.
Sure.
Okay.
And then the next one that's pretty common is the brain. Not all the people that have come through have had it over the entire brain. These are really nasty. This is not necessarily even the back of the neck that we're talking about. This is covering the entire brain. So we tend to find this amongst people that are more scientifically oriented. Obviously, they're more in their mind, and it prevents your knowingness, and it also cuts you off from fully connecting with your heart, so that you have that full mind-heart connection. So again, there we are restricted in that area.
Right.
The next one is the lower spine, and that is one that I experienced. Man, was that brutal. But when I asked Pam about this one, I was basically saying, well, this must have something to do with creation, creativity, and I think I told everybody my story about how I saw like this running snapshots of pictures of myself, being like a incubator. And she says, yeah, that's true, but it's also preventing you from having your kundalini fully lit up. And also it prevents you, this is really big, it prevents you from connecting fully with Mother Earth, and it lowers your life force. I mean, God. I mean, you read this stuff, you just think, this is so maniacal, Right. And then the last one, the most common one of all of us is having this big, gigantic one in the back area, down the spine, and it wraps itself and convolutes itself all throughout the tissues, throughout the body. This is one of the most important things that has to be done properly to extract those fibers that are basically all over. They're kind of twisted and turned all around, not only your tissue, but also around organs and things like that. And she said this is one of the strongest devices of all. She basically refers to it as kind of a monster. And she says it controls everything in the body. Everything. So pretty much all of us have that one too, in the third eye. Now, there are specific cases where I've been seeing some people that have had them on their intestines, their liver,
spleen, I think.
Spleen, their knees, their feet. And the best explanation for that is if they target a particular area like that, it's because they already see that it's a weak link to the body. And so if it's already weak, then it's going to cause potential problems. And they're looking to basically slow you down, disconnect you, keep you in the dark, and prevent you from realizing who you really are. That's it in a nutshell.
Right.
So they just keep picking, whatever is the weakest point of your body. Or in the opposite flip side, if you have some phenomenal asset, then they're going to knock that down a notch. So if you've come here to speak and to motivate through speech or music, then chances are you will have something around the throat or the back of the neck that's going to keep you down in that area. So I wanted to go over that because so many people have asked us questions about that. And now what we really want to talk to you guys about is the 144,000. There have been not only emails exchanged, but there's been, as you know, some messages that have come in, not only to us, but to other friends and people that have been really kind of jumping into this. And we've been doing some research just to give people an idea of where we are right now. I mean, this is a very major turning point in humanity. And I feel that the implant removal process is such a key ingredient to that change and that transformation.
And, I think that brings in the 144,000, that it's actually a gathering of the 144,000, and that is a big part of the implant removal.
And it's, one of many processes possibly out there that are pulling together those that are in the enlightened ones. Now, I wanted to share with you guys some of the cool stuff I've found on the 144,000 because there's so many different perspectives on it. For example, one thing we looked up was the passage in the Bible. It says, "Do not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of our God." And we wanted to see what seal meant. And when Steve pulled it up in the Webster's New World Dictionary, we thought it was very interesting because one of the meanings was to pull or to draw. Now, at the same time, on most of the articles that are out there, the way they interpret the 144,000 and the seals, how they fit together, is they discuss the chakras or the vortices. And as you all know, there's chakras of the planet, and then there's chakras of the human body. Of course, there's more than just the 7 that we typically focus on. But it was very interesting when they were talking about these actual chakras. As you know, they all have an affiliated note or tone to them. And I'm just going to read this because I thought it was fascinating. It says, "The song which the 144,000 were singing is the initiatic song for the coming new epoch of Aquarius. The epoch of Aquarius is the epoch of the Holy Spirit, the great cosmic spiritual spring in life, when humankind returns back to the kingdom of God." And it says there is an ancient proverb that states, "When nature renews itself, the bird sings. At the beginning of every divine culture, human beings sing. When the world is recreated, the angels sing. Hence, the 144,000 fully enlightened human beings around Christ and all the angels in heaven sing the song of the great renewal of the world and the dawning of the new epoch in the history of humankind." So I thought it was really interesting now how we lead from the 144,000 to the song of the 144,000, and where do you think that goes from there?
Well, I was always wondering about that because I didn't think I would be walking around singing some kind of song. Especially most of you guys out there probably wouldn't want to hear me sing. But
that's for sure. Trust me on that one.
So I think it's more of like when we're hit by the, what do you call it? Is it actually the frequency, or is it the light, or?
Well, I think
we actually resonate with like a resonate back, and what's resonating back is the song.
Well, and I think each one of us holds a code, and the codes are a frequency, and the frequencies are a tone, and each of those tones actually plays a symphony or a piece of music. And I think that the gathering of us together, it's very often stated that one of the biggest problems amongst the light community is that we can't gather together. We're very scattered. And if you go back to one of the interviews that I had with Cobra, I thought it was really interesting. I was asking him about the difference between, entities versus implants. And he was talking about, one of the biggest situations is that the people on the surface of the planet have not been able to gather together physically to create a strong, unified group to promote a positive agenda. So really, that's where we are right now, is we are being challenged to unite because we have been, so to speak, up against the dark, who are very organized, as everyone knows. I mean, they are very in sync. They know exactly what's going to be done. And any of the information that you read out there, they have been planning this for a long time.
And the light workers really don't have a plan. Most of us we have been sitting around saying, wow, let's just not focus on anything negative and we'll be fine. But there's really no plan there. We just kind of go in our own different direction and nobody's really unified.
Well, now part of the reason that we're not unified is because of the implants. Now this was a quote from Cobra. It says, "The implant is a certain type of device or technology which has been inserted in our energy bodies with very strong electromagnetic forces." And he goes on to say that it actually blocks the flow of energy. So that's one of the reasons. And he also said down here that it causes us to compromise the thinking process because it infests the etheric brain.
I feel that too. I feel like I have my own thoughts now.
Mm-hmm.
And
I do too.
Before, I really didn't. I always thought it was coming from somewhere else.
Yeah, that's really true. Now, with that said, a lot of us are probably kind of going, oh, come on, can I be part of the 144? And the 144,000 is a number that's used on a constant basis. There's so much sacred geometry around the number 144. And it goes all the way back to the genes themselves. And there was an article from CNN, this goes back to 1999, and they were estimating that the number of human genes is somewhere around, get this, 140,000 or so. That was their quote exactly out of this particular article. And it says, meanwhile, the imminent mapping of the human genome, all 140,000 genes, could lead to rapid advances in treating heart diseases, etc. So now you have to think to yourself, well, how do the genes fit into the 144,000? And if you think about it and you go into music, they've now even created musical equations with math that equate certain genes. That goes into, that's
Wow.
kind of similar. I just found that on the internet today. I was just blown away. They had proteins, and they actually had the tone for that actual protein.
Mm-hmm.
It was very cool.
Well, that gets into some of the energetic stuff that I do. Everything has a frequency. So that's how you can, treat diseases and even emotional or mental issues with just a certain frequency. So everything resonates to a certain frequency.
Correct. Yeah, so now also they're saying that 144,000 are sealed. Now, if we're sealed, then what is the seal? Okay, so the seal in many of the articles, or even in some of the guidance that we've received, is referring to a chakra or a vortex. And in this particular case, they're saying the number is broken down to be measured as 12,000 of each of the 12 tribes. And it says the number 12 metaphysically is the number of perfection. Perfection to the 12 tribes refers to the 12 cranial nerves of the brain, which control all the physical aspects of the human body. The 12 cranial nerves are the 12 tribes. Whoa.
Right, and then it gets into also the DNA too, the DNA strands. The other thing that I was thinking of that I got a hit on was also the definition of a seal is to actually seal something. And if it's sealed, it's just like our what they call junk DNA. We couldn't even handle it at one time, so they had to be like sealed or closed off to the different frequencies. Or maybe it was the frequencies themselves that are starting to activate these. So once, the human race was ready, or the beings that are down here are ready for that activation, then that's when the tones are sent, or the codes, or whatever they are, and then that activates those.
So how do you think the tones are going to be sent or activated? I mean, what about Anna Hayes? Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, there's so many different things. Everything goes back to like all these, the chakras, and our 7 main chakras. The Earth also has 7 main chakras. Also, I used to really be into Anna Hayes, and there's the 7 seals of the Earth, and they're the 7 primary vortices. So there's 7 vortexes, and there's the Painted Desert, Jerusalem.
Well, tell them which
Himalayan
one's which. Tell them which
mountains.
one's
These are in order. 1 is Painted Desert, 2 is Jerusalem, 3 is Himalayan mountains, 4 is Giza, 5 is Machu Picchu, 6 is Caucasus Mountains in Russia, and then 7 would be the Andes Mountains. And the 7th one was opened in 2012. So they're all open now.
Wow.
So every one of them's open. The interesting thing is the last one fully closes in 2047. Don't really know what that means, but I think it's just a window of opportunity between now and then. Mm-hmm. And that would be when the ascension window would close basically in 2047, and that would be basically the end of the ascension cycle, which would be not, shouldn't scare anybody that that's even that far away, because look at how fast 2012, 2013 flew by. I can't believe it's almost 2014. It seemed like, where did 2011 go?
Well, also that's just a window
right.
of the possibility for ascension, and those that have not made the decision yet. There's a lot of work to do. I mean, the enlightened ones, we know we want to ascend. We know that we want to move forward and live in a life of harmony and peace and unity. But we also have to assist the rest of the folks.
But my whole point to this is that we kind of lose perception of time the further we get into this.
True.
And, sometimes time just ceases to exist, and sometimes it just it'll either just not even be there, or it'll just fly by, or sometimes it just really slows down. So we could be in 2047 in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
That's my whole point. We might not even realize time. All of a sudden, we'll just be there.
Right.
I mean, even if it's that far away, I don't really think it is, but that's, supposedly the window.
Well, and on top of that, we don't know how this whole process is going to affect time itself.
Right.
We may not even live in time-space any longer, But now that's really interesting, because Cryon, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Cryon, and he actually made mention of the fact that one of the things that he channeled was that we had 144,000 years to complete the test. And you know how we're always reading that, this is a game and it's gone on too long, and we're all ready to move on, and everybody's really burned out. Even the dark are burned out. For those that are really highly dialed into the galactic councils, if I don't hear it once, I hear it a million times, that both sides are tired. They're exhausted of the fighting, the war, the struggle.
And Andrew Bartzitz goes over that, and he goes, hey, everyone's just tired. They just want to go home.
Yeah, everybody's burnt.
Even the dark.
Which is an advantage to us. So, getting back to the seals, in this one article, it's talking about they connect the 7 seals to the 7 nerves of the chakras of the spine. Isn't that interesting? And it says the 144,000 to DNA, which is the number 12. So number 12 comes up again. And it also says the song of the 144,000 is a new code. and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. In other words, only when the genetic code is cleansed and made right again would life flow in harmony with God's universe. So it is the consciousness that rises out of the earth via the restoration of the 144,000. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what you and I stumbled upon with the halls of Amenti. Can you kind of go over that a little bit with them? How she's basically saying how it had been hijacked, and it had to be closed down and then reopened.
Right, and it's basically a sphere that was put into the earth, and now that all the vortices are open, it's able to send the codes out through these through the halls of Amenti. And what happens is, it's actually, I believe right now it's activating the 8th DNA strand. And I'm a little rusty on this. I used to know all this, and my life kind of went a different direction. And I'm just now getting back into it. And I really believe that. I think there's a lot of this stuff is technical. The entire universe is basically a mathematical equation. And a lot of people just think, oh, wow, this is life. It's living and breathing. But a lot of people don't realize that it's actually based on an equation, a mathematical equation, even source or God, whatever you want to call, what I would call source.
Well,
is a mathematical equation.
Right, and that's kind of where I wanted to have you talk about. There's some people that are making reference to the fact that the central axis of the multiple universal cosmological genesis is the actual core structure of Earth. And some people are saying that this will be activated. Some people will say that it's going to actually ascend out of the physical Earth. Some people are even having dreams that they see the burst of light that we've heard so much about, streaming forth and kind of melting away the rest of Earth, and this would be the actual ascension. So,
right, because the Earth really was hijacked, and there's a holographic Earth, and I believe, I guess none of us actually know, but
right.
I believe that the actual Earth is going to separate from the holographic Earth. The holographic Earth is just going to go back into 3D, and that's probably where people that aren't going to ascend and just want to, I don't really know if they're going to go to a parallel area. They're probably just going to stay on the holographic Earth, and the real Earth is going to separate, which is like an ascension.
Yeah. This is really interesting. It says, the way to visualize this core structure is as a central processing unit in a software program in a gigantic holographic supercomputer. Within each of the 144,000 facets is inscribed a specific shape, and these shapes rotate independently of the rotation of the sphere itself. Only the timeless and eternal overseers of the entire creation and completion exist outside of the existence of all that was, is, or ever will be. This hyper-tetrahedral core structure contains within it guidelines, operational parameters, and directives. The instructions for how the scalar waveforms of the unified field and its inherent animating intelligence sculpt the dimensionality of spatial temporal continuum. Now that's pretty heavy stuff, but the thing that blows my mind is the part about how each of the 144,000 facets have their own individual type of shape, okay? And that blew my mind.
I know, that
blew my mind.
Reminds me of when you told me about when you are doing the custom remedies
Right.
for the implant removal, what you're seeing in each individual.
Yeah, and a lot of you don't know this, but every time I make an individualized essence for each of you that go through this process, you're there with me. Your higher self is there, your guides are there, and this huge, huge council is there. And basically, the first thing I see is I see you being knighted. And that's one of the first things. And then the second thing is I actually see us somehow uniting some sort of code within me with your code, and it ends up being the perfect signature. It's like the key that unlocks the door for you. And remember, I told you guys before that Pam and I had pleaded for this mission. We wanted to do it so badly, and we were like, this is what they told us, is that we wouldn't take no for an answer.
What were you thinking?
I know. Yeah, there's been a lot of late 3 to 4 in the morning nights, guys. But anyway, I'm happy as anything to be here to assist my fellow 144,000 enlightened ones. But it was just amazing because every single one of you have just the coolest, most unique, special geometrical shape. I mean, no two are the same, and they're oscillating. And then when you take the remedy, there's something about that unlocks the code, and then it opens up this door and goes on from there. But
yeah, that's fascinating because
amazing.
Well, the other thing when we were talking to Pam, she was talking about how she actually sees a code also.
Right.
But I think it's actually different than what you're seeing.
Oh yeah, no, it's a different process altogether. Hers is completely different, and I think it's at the point where she has removed the final implant, which allows all of your bodies to align and light up.
Right.
So she's just like blown away by seeing that every time I mean, it is really exciting to see what's happening with all of us. Now, with that said, I know there are some of you, and it's a very small percentage, but there are some of you that have come to me and you've sent in emails and said, wow, I've signed up, I'm really excited, but oh my God, I'm really noticing that the ankle biters are kind of stepping it up. And it's fascinating to me because they have a consciousness and they know when their days are numbered. They really do. So we put together, there's this awesome Controlling Energies proclamation. I put it up on the web. If you don't have it, make sure you check it out. It's up on the very top of the blog. And if you don't have it, just drop me an email. But it is really, really helpful. It really is time for us to remember that when you remove the implants, guess what, guys? You also need to let go of old belief constructs. I mean, every one of us, we're all being challenged by that. It's like the old, mannequin part of you versus the entire multidimensional free being part of you. They're like night and day. And so there's a lot of stuff that has to kind of fall by the wayside in order to really step into your glory and majesty. So keep that in mind. This is one of the reasons that they are really stepping it up before you come in and get your extraction done, because they know that their gravy train is done. Their meals are going to be cut off.
Right. Well, in that protection proclamation that we were turned on to was given to us when we were on vacation, 10 years ago, 12 years ago?
Yeah, tell them about that.
Something
That's
like
pretty trippy.
And this woman came into our lives right on our vacation, stayed. She wasn't even staying at the hotel. Matter of fact, she stayed in our room one night, and we think she was a walk-in because we never heard from her again. And she just kind of disappeared. She was there one day and then gone the next, just to bring this information to us. And interesting enough, she brought scalar wave technology with her and put it all around the room. And she goes, you have to have this, and you need this protection. And she goes, I'm going to do it with you, and we should all do it. And the first time we did it, we actually saw like a door slam. It was like above us, like in the ethers, and it just all of a sudden this like door just slammed when we did it. So they were actually like watching us, and we like closed everything down. And then she put this scalar wave technology in the room at all four corners, and we actually slept that night there. And she spent the night on the couch that night with us, and
we had a great night's sleep.
Yeah, we had a great night's sleep that night.
Because we were under a lot of attack at that point. I remember that.
And then I think she took off. We actually spent a little bit of time the next day, and then she took off, and then we never heard from her again, and we never saw her again.
But this was one of the greatest gifts I can give you guys. It, in my opinion, is probably one of the most powerful proclamations out there. It was created by a man named Rich Work, and he is no longer here on the Earth plane, but did some phenomenal work for the planet. So I guarantee you, if you do this and you do it religiously, meaning every day, especially up to the process and even after the process, because what's happening is, if you haven't completely gotten rid of, just habits, addictions, some certain thought patterns like I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I don't have gifts, I don't have anything to give to the planet. These are all negative, dense emotions and feelings and thought forms that really are not serving you for your higher and best good. So guess what? Once you get turned on and you're stepping into your Christhood, all of those thought patterns are really becoming a resistance.
Yeah, I still have some of the same thought patterns, but they don't repeat over and over and over again in my head.
Yeah.
Or anywhere in my body. It's just like they're there, and if I recognize them for what they are, and then I just send them away, then they're gone. So but I imagine if you were dwelling on them, it could be a problem. So you just have to keep that in mind, and when something does come in your head, just send it away. We had a Hermetic teacher that told us you basically put take your two fingers, your forefinger and your middle finger, put it on your third eye, and when you have a thought like that, put it on there and just send it away. You just kind of sweep it off and just send it away, and then you have to replace it with a happy thought or whatever you want or whatever you think would help you in that situation.
Yeah, because remember, thoughts are things. They can become matter. So it's really just a tool to kind of retrain your brain, but it does work if you need that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to put your hand up there. I mean, this is a gesture.
Yeah, it's a gesture. Well, hey, the Illuminati use that all the time, and it works for them. Except they do it in a negative way. I did want to share this really cool dream this guy had, and I thought you guys would really enjoy it. It's not too long. It says, here's a vision of the 144,000 faceted core. Last night into this morning, I had a series of vivid dreams. In my dreams, the energetics of the planet were changing. I saw people flocking all over the place. It was like a madhouse. People had no idea what was going on. There were strange cloud formations in the sky, and it was like the entire planet was being electrically charged. There was lightning-like phenomena, although it was unlike normal lightning we are adjusted to. This was beyond dazzling, like there were lightning rods jumping across all of the clouds. The sky was sparkling like a brilliant diamond from those storms. The planet was humid and the rain was heated. People were acting in a crazed, maniacal manner. In the middle of all of this upheaval, from inside the center of the earth arose this dazzling 144,000-sided hyper-tetrahedral geometric form. This form was brilliant, translucent silver, and shifted into all of the colors of the rainbow, many of which cannot even be perceived with our physical eyes. It rose up into the atmosphere and shape-shifted its form into an image. As this occurred, all the people who had been scattering and screaming and running around in this fluctuating, dismal, storm-like condition of the planet stared up into the sky in awe at the splendor their eyes beheld. I was one of those people. This happened last night. the image that this form became was that of the oversoul of the human species, the Mother Earth goddess, the androgynous light being. This being revealed to the individuals alive on the planet at that time what could have been done previously to ensure that along our current timeline we would be prepared. I thought that was very profound. I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really gets you to think about, how exactly is Mother Earth going to transform? It's very, very interesting. So the other thing I wanted to share with you guys is there's a really cool book about the ascension, and it talks a lot about activating the soul codes. And this is so in alignment with the information that I've been receiving, which is there will be 144,000 volunteers. They will be needed to reach a critical mass of ascended masters. They will be needed for humanity as a whole to go into the new age. And when the masters of the second wave return to Earth, they will prepare the people for the third wave and the evacuation. And I think this explains a lot why we have so many different stories about what ascension is. Some people are like, oh God, are the ships going to come pick us up? Or, oh God, is it going to be absolutely crazy and a whole bunch of people are just going to be blown off the planet or whatever? And it's basically there's 3 different waves of ascension that are going down. And anyway, one of the other things it's stating, and it's not the only book or article that I've read that states this, is it's reminding us that the 144,000 are the angels that return to Earth, and that we need to remember that.
Well, isn't a third wave is where they have to be, the people that can't physically ascend have to be evacuated in ships or something like that?
Yes. Yeah, that is it. So anyway, it talks about how many masters will return and that there requires a lot of preparation and work to be done and to get through a lot of drama. But here is a real pearl of wisdom right here. Many of you have answered the call. This planet serves as some kind of acupunctural point which causes transformation and healing of huge parts of the galaxy. Now, when I heard that, that was in alignment with my last communication with the council, when they were stating that each of the 144,000 are standing or holding the space for a specific node on the specific grid that we are layering around the Earth. And I thought that was really interesting, because it's so much in alignment with this.
But basically what you're saying, we are the next Ascended Masters.
Mm-hmm. We are the up-and-comings. I'm sure a lot of people are going to go, nah.
That's very exciting. And I would much, I know it's exciting to have a ship come pick you up, but how much more exciting would it be to just do it on your own?
That's true.
Yeah, lift yourself up and be an Ascended Master, and you won't need a ship.
Well, and the other thing I want to remind everybody that has gone through this process, basically the ultimate tool of the Matrix has been removed for you. Yes, we have EMFs. Yes, we have chemtrails. Yes, we have GMO foods. Yes, we have, nasty, loud, discordant music. However, that's all external. And if you up your protective techniques, the fact that something internally wrong has been removed from your field, your whole life is blowing open. And it's you recognizing that, you realizing that you have the power now to have whatever you want. I mean, when I'm making the essences, I am imbuing that into each and every one of your formulas. I see it. I see what they are blessing you with. Honestly, is you have at your fingertips now anything your little heart desires. And every door will open up for you now, because this is a promise. This is actually a promise because of all that we've gone through. And that kind of leads me to, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Guardians. It's not talked about that often. In fact, we were told not to discuss it for a long period of time. And it's one of those things where, it's really important to see if you even fit the criteria. I will put this information up on the web so that people can review it. But when I was training with a hermetic teacher, he basically told Steve and I that he had never seen two guardians together. It was a very rare situation. But we're finding a lot of guardians are coming through this process. And you're wondering, who are guardians? Well, I want you to read up on it. There's so much information that I've compiled. I've been researching this literally for years. And honest to God, there is very little information about it. One of the main people that's written about it is Anna Hayes and Lisa Renee. Okay? They do write a little bit of, well, not a little bit, a lot of information about the Guardians and the Guardian Alliance. But one thing I want to pass on to you is most of us that have exchanged emails or spoken with one another about our personal lives, we all share very intense childhoods, really bad in utero experiences, frightening experiences when you're sleeping, feeling like you're the black sheep of the family, withstanding severe emotional, mental, physical, and sexual abuse, hostility from one of your parents. And in many cases, if you're a guardian, there's a pretty high likelihood that you had a parent that was a reptilian. So if this is resonating, then, you probably are one. You also feel like you never should have been born into your family. You felt like you were a social misfit. You were a loner. You really didn't understand things because you saw everything in a completely different way. You typically felt like you were outcast. You were very precocious. You asked a lot of questions, and you were always reading or researching, or just maybe you spent all day out in the forest or the field, and you would talk to the insects and the rocks and the trees. I mean, for me, that was a very common thing.
We were both tree climbers.
Yeah, big time. Oh, I talk to trees all day long. You tend to be very independent now. You're typically going to be truth seekers. You're all about justice. You're very supportive of all animals and all natural life. You're always referred to as an old soul amongst those that meet you on their path. You're typically very loyal. Honor and integrity are of utmost importance. You're often affiliated with the military, somehow, maybe. And you are very much into looking into alternative information because you just don't quite trust what you've been presented. You allow your belief systems to constantly change, and that's a real big deal, okay? That we have the flexibility to let go of a belief system that we've put a lot of emphasis on, but then when we saw something that presented itself as being so much more true, we're willing to be honest enough to say, wow, I've got to look at this, and I got to realize I'm not really agreeing with what I used to believe. That's really important. You're very protective. You're often very much defending the underdog. You very much are a peacemaker and a peacekeeper. You tend to be a diplomat, meaning on the other side of the veil, you're shapeshifters. You can pretty much fit into any situation, no matter what it is, because you're really good at changing the way in which you act and react. You can be really blunt with your honesty. You can also be encouraging to those that are downtrodden, and you also feel that you just really can't trust people. Now, one of the reasons that we've ended up this way, there's many of us that you've written me and stuff, that we tend to not trust others because we've been so wounded. We've been so, we perceive screwed over, we've been betrayed, and a lot of it started from birth or from our family of origin. And what I want to remind all of you is that that is no longer the case now. We are literally reuniting. Our soul families are reuniting right now, and the twin flames are reuniting, and that's part of this process. We're kicking that off, and that's really exciting. So I want all of you to know, even though I know there's a bunch of you out there that have told me so many times that you don't have anyone to talk to, we are really going to work hard at trying to unite all of you so that everyone has everyone to reach out to. How cool is that? So that's coming. I just want to let everybody know that. But you also feel a real strong tendency to defend truth and light. And yet you tend to really respect everybody's opinions. You may not agree with them, but you're okay with the fact that they have a difference of opinion. And so anyway, I could go on and on and on. It's really cool if you could read up on the Guardian Alliance. If you haven't already, there's a great book, a set of books out by Anna Hayes. They're really technical, I might add. But, the information in there is just incredible. It's a bit outdated now, but it's something that's very important. It's a lot of good reference material about the grids, the grids that have been created by the dark, the grids that have been created by the light, which ones were hijacked, which ones weren't. Well, everybody, we have had some technical difficulties, but with that said, we'll go ahead and tie the rest of this show up. And we left off with some information regarding the Guardians. Again, if you have any questions, I will be trying to put up a page on the Guardians, the Guardian Alliance, etc. See if that resonates with you. And we did want to review one other thing, and that is some of the core issues that we're running into as far as if you're still stuck, if you're not, getting beyond feeling very peaceful, feeling very blissful. We hear that all the time. And definitely feeling a lot less triggered by anything and everything that's around you. So a couple of the areas that we're running into, and I know Steve has experienced this with some of the people. You want to talk a little bit about the heart wall?
Yes. Once the implants are removed, we notice just about everyone has an implant on their heart or their heart chakra. And there's also, underneath that, we've built up over the years, we built up walls around our heart to protect us. So now is the time to release those too. So what you're going to want to do is just make sure that you release it with love, and it's protected you all these years. So you can thank it, kind of try to visualize it, because once you put like a face to it or visualize what you think it looks like, it doesn't have to be any certain thing. People are different. Some people look at it like a brick wall. Some are like a stone wall. Some are like even tissue or part of their body. So whatever you picture it as, just picture it melting away. If you still feel you have any problems, I can help you with that, and we can work on that also. I can work on it on this end to help you release that.
Haven't you noticed that with some of the people you've worked with, there still is a resistance, folks? So just keep in mind that it is your responsibility to be ready to let go of that, because there's a subconscious belief system that is your protection, okay? And in reality, that worked in the old Piscean way of thinking and the old way of being when you were implanted. It is not going to work for you now. So it's really important that you work on the heart walls.
And it's usually the last few feet that they're the hardest to release because they're the closest to you. And I found it's usually like the last, even up to like 6 inches, is like the last part of it that's hardest to release. The other thing is a lot of people are carrying a lot of extra souls, and those need to be released too. We'll be coming up with something to release those also later on. We don't want to overwhelm anybody right this minute and just take care of the most important things right now. But that can take some weight off your shoulder. These extra souls are souls that have come in basically for the ride. They saw how powerful you were. You made an agreement with them to come in and they could experience through you. Now it's time to let go of that. Let them have their own experience. They've been on your coattails for long enough, and it's time to release those also. And these aren't bad souls or anything like that. They're not anything that you have to worry about, but it is a lot of weight that you're carrying. So that can help.
And I think it's kind of like you're carrying contractual agreements with a variety of souls from various places in the galaxies and universes that you've traveled through. And that's kind of the impression we're getting. The other thing that's really important is to revoke your contracts with the dark or anything that's been, oppressed, suppressed, or forced upon you. That's really important. And releasing all your old belief constructs, which we've talked about. Remember, you're a new person, so therefore you have to look at all of the ideas and thinking and beliefs that you have, and remember those need to be new too. Grounding is imperative, and if you haven't worked on it on a regular basis, it's really important to do that now. Clearing past lives, all the multiple past lives and different timelines, which the essences, by the way, will help substantially. And protection. Protection is just huge. You really need to be diligent about that every day, because you're a brighter light, guys. You are brighter, and therefore you're going to get more attention. And I think the other thing is stepping into your authority. And if you've never been that way, that's something you're going to need to work on. And lastly is just being super aware of your surroundings, which you're going to be anyway, because you're going to be more sensitive now that a lot of the implant removal programming is done. So you're going to start seeing things more clearly, and your feelings are going to be more clear. So those are some of the areas that we're starting to notice amongst all of you. We're compiling a bunch of information. We're still working on it. If you have any feedback or any questions, please drop me a line, and just have patience with me and Steve as far as getting back to you, but we will get back to you, I promise. And for all of you, we just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts and from the top of our hearts that you have allowed us to be a part of your life and providing you this gift from the divine. And we are so honored. So we wish you a very, very Merry Christmas. You guys have a wonderful New Year, if I don't talk to you before then, which I will. We have Cobra coming up next week, so that ought to be interesting. We'll be doing a review of the month, but also the year. And I hope that you can sincerely see the changes in such an awesome, positive way for 2014, because it's all of us that are really going to make the impact and the difference. So I love you all, and I thank you all for listening today, and you take care. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.